God is greatly to be feared. Psalms 89, Scripture 7, God is greatly to be feared. Psalms 89, Scripture 7, God is greatly to be feared in the assembly of the saints, and to be had in reverence of all them that are about him. The word of the Lord to you and I this Sunday morning arises out of 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and Scripture 40. The word of the Lord to you and I today is, let all things be done decently and in order. Let all things be done decently and in order. It is the last word of 1 Corinthians 14:40 that I want to preach to you this morning on the very singular word, order. Let all things be done decently and in order. When something is decent or decently, it is that which conforms to the rule. When something is decent, it is appropriate. When something is decent, it is modest. When something is decent, it is honest. When something is decent, it is good enough and it is pleasing. But more so, the focus this day is on the word order. When that which is in order, it is properly arranged. That which is in order is that which you bring into organizing. That which is in order is that which is put in its proper place. It is structured. This is true of a powerful truth because not many men would be able to say that they saw God face to face. Not many women would be able to say that they are God's friend. In Genesis chapter 22 on the word today, order. Genesis 22, Scripture 1, and it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, behold, here I am. Abraham is God's friend. And he said, take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, my father. And he said, here am I, my son. And he said, behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together, and they came to the place which God had told them of. And Abraham built an altar. Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order, and bound his son Isaac, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. The Lord said that Abraham feared him. One would declare because Abraham did not withhold his son. That's true. The scripture is clear to say that Abraham feared God. Not only because Abraham offered his son up, but Abraham built an altar, a place of sacrifice, a place where people would go to pray. You and I must die daily. You and I must present our bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is our reasonable service. Abraham feared God because he offered up his son without hesitation, but he built an altar, and Abraham took fire, and Abraham took a knife, and even more so, Abraham took wood. But out of all the things you and I have read about what Abraham did regarding the knife, regarding the fire, regarding the altar, and more so the wood, it is that wood that gains your attention, because the scripture says Abraham laid the wood in order. Do you know if you've ever wanted to build a fire in a fireplace, build a fire out in a fire pit outside? If you're ever going to build a fire that's going to be a fire that's going to last, I know you probably didn't use the grill in a while, but there's a certain way that people would set up wood in order to build a fire a certain way, based upon what they're going to use it for. If you look at your stove is built a certain way to control fire. When you turn on the pilot light, whether it's gas and electric combined or just gas, when the pilot light explodes, it is under control. You might have an electrical stove, but yet and still the current is controlled. They built it that way for the purpose for you to be able to cook. When you get in your car and you start your car up, as soon as you turn the ignition, there is this spray that comes. And some cars may not be like that, but the old way would be a spray, and there would be this light and ignition with the battery, and this is a explosion that happens in the engine. But it's controlled. It's designed that way. If your stove wasn't like that, and your car wasn't like that, meaning that they are in order. They have structure. They are decent. They are in control. And as long as you've used the stove in your car, it has not disobeyed the law that it was set up under. People today, they don't want structure. People today, they don't want order. People today, they don't want to be conformed to the rule. They want to do whatever they want to do. But yet and still, they want things to go smoothly. Only to find out it won't. You and I must realize that you and I are dressed today, and we've been dressing this way all of our lives. Not only have we dressed ourselves, but when we couldn't as a little baby, we were dressed by somebody who followed the order and the structure of a dress code. We have dress codes at work. We have dress codes at school. There ought to be dress codes in the church body, but there ought to be dress codes every day of your life, to the point that you are doing things, not just some, but let all things, not some things, let all things be done decently and in order. Abraham has the wood in order. Exodus chapter 40 and scripture 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month shalt thou set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation, and thou shalt put therein the ark of the testimony, and cover the ark with the veil. And thou shalt bring in the table, and set in order the things that are to be set in order upon it. And thou shalt bring in the candlestick, and light the lamps thereof. Here in Exodus chapter 40, scripture 16. Thus